welcome to my 11-week post. The baby is 1.5 inches long today and the size of a fig. It seems to be across the board the practice of pregnancy literature to compare developing babies to graduating fetus sizes. I just find that really amusing for some reason. So fig, that's how big we are today. And they have little hardening buds underneath their gums that will eventually be teeth. And the fingers are all separated out. They don't have webbed paws going on in there anymore. It pretty much looks like a tiny person if you were to take a peek inside. Obviously, there's still some finite details that will be refined on the outside of the body, and there's a lot of organ development that needs to happen internally still, but if you were to peek inside, it would look like a little itty bitty person in there, a fig-sized person. Symptomatically, everything makes me gag. I am ridiculously sensitive to offensive sights and smells, which is really frustrating because if the cafeteria at school, I'm working on a degree in business management right now, if they're making fish or serving fish, I can't even walk through that space because the smell just brings me to my knees, and I can't pop open up a can of animal food for the critters in the morning because the smell is so revolting to me. I just start gagging and have to run to the bathroom lest I vomit all over the floor. So that's frustrating because I never felt that way about it before. It didn't smell great, but it didn't have that kind of power over me physically. Also, I am 100% more likely to cry about everything these days, and it seems like empathy of any kind whatsoever equates to tears. So there's that. It just makes me feel a little bit ridiculous sometimes, but other than that, it's not so bad. We have another appointment to see the midwife this week, and I'm really excited about that. I don't know if we'll do an ultrasound, but I do know we'll at least listen to the heartbeat. And it'll be nice because the first time I listened to the heartbeat was at that initial appointment in the clinical setting, and it was very rushed. Maybe 10 seconds I got to listen to it. I didn't really get to sit with the experience at all. So I know that will be different with the midwife. I know that I'll be able to listen to it and record it if I want to, and just really connect with that experience in the way that one should be allowed to. Hearing your unborn baby's heartbeat is a pretty big deal, and I think a lot of people want to be, left to enjoy that moment for at least a minute or two before the machine is shut off and they're rushed on to the next thing. Something that is beginning to cause me a little bit of anxiety is that the farther along I get, more people are asking, how many weeks is it when you find out what gender the baby is? Are you going to have a gender reveal party? It's mostly family that's asking those types of questions. But there's friends as well. And I realize I'm going to have the conversation with them that I don't really want a gender reveal party. That first off, I don't really think that the way a fetus's genitals look dictate anything about what type of personality or identity we can expect from that individual. And secondly, I'm really not a fan of the sexist patriarchal gender binary in the first place. I mean, the whole point of it is to set up a hierarchy where men are at the top and women are on the bottom. That's all it is. It's a power structure that's meant to enable some and oppress others. It hurts more than it helps, and it will eventually be an obsolete concept anyway. It's getting closer and closer to outdated. The social movement says it's outdated, and science is starting to back that up too. So I will continue to cross that bridge as it comes, but it's not something that I'm looking forward to having to explain to people, or after the baby is born especially, people are going to want to know, is it a boy or is it a girl? I'm going to have to tell them, we're not really divulging that information. And I think that'll definitely be a different experience for sure. That wasn't really an option, with my pregnancy the first time around, just because I wasn't as aware. That was 6 years ago for me now that I was finding out that I was having that baby, and I wasn't nearly as aware as I am now of the alternative culture and language and values that are out there. And when I say alternative, I just mean it's not traditionally what we're offered. I think it's definitely the more insightful, evolved route to go as far as a foundation for what your, beliefs and values should be, and what you should be surrounding your child with and teaching them to value. And kids are intuitive. If you start calling them a he or a she and they're 2, 3 years old, they look around, they get those messages from the world, and they start putting themselves in boxes, and they start putting limitations on themselves and setting all these ridiculous internal rules for what they can or can't do. And I just want to protect my child from that as much as possible. And I do strongly believe that people are going to understand and respect that. It's just going to be a difficult dialogue. And I'm a little bit nervous about it. And it's starting, the reality that I'm going to have that dialogue is beginning to hit me, as people ask. So there's that. You had some great questions last time. I asked you to post them or comment them or message them, and you did. One of the questions that was asked is, how does my older child feel about it? That's a great question. My older child is on the spectrum and nonverbal, so it's not really, we don't really have like direct access to that information. I mean, we certainly are talking about it, and I'm showing pictures to my child and explaining to them that there's another baby on the way, but it's difficult to know how much of that is getting in, how much of that concept they understand, and I don't know how they feel about that. I do know that they really like other kids, that they enjoy playing with other kids, and that they seem to be fairly positive to babies too, or, at the very least indifferent. So I think that it's going to be a really positive experience for them overall. I think it's really going to help them to have a sibling. I think that will be nothing but positive for them. But I can't ask them directly how they feel about it. But great question. I've also been asked if I'm on hormones right now, and currently no, I am not. I got pregnant in February of this year, and I've been off hormones since May. So there's quite a long stretch there in between being on hormones and conceiving. And that seems to be the general advice, that you should probably be off testosterone for at least 3 months before trying to have a baby. Yes. Fetuses are very sensitive to hormones and chemical washes, and it is really important that everything be balanced in, the way that nature is expecting while you're carrying a baby. However, there is research that shows that being on testosterone while you are chest feeding is completely fine, because testosterone doesn't get into the breast milk, and it doesn't affect your ability to produce milk. So that's interesting. I don't think a lot of people know that. I certainly didn't know that until a couple of weeks ago. So I think that's cool to talk about, and that's definitely worth noting. I had, if you want to know more about that too, I talk more in depth, I want to say, in my week 5 blog about exactly how long it was after testosterone when I first started menstruating, when my periods were regular, and when we started trying to conceive, and what that process looked like, because we weren't initially successful. It took us like 3 months, and I talk about why I think that was, and the proactive steps I took to improve my fertility. Other questions, I think that I actually may have covered all of them. I did. So that is everything that I have for you this week. Pregnancy is going really well, and I'm really enjoying it. I have some moments of dysphoria, but honestly, it's not any more than it was before I was pregnant, and it tends to be all of the same things that it was about. Essentially what I'm trying to say is, I don't think pregnancy has added any more triggers to my life. I don't feel like it has increased my dysphoria in any notable way. So that's good. That's definitely good. The only thing that I'm worried about is just, dealing with the reality of getting bigger. But I think that that's something that everyone who's pregnant deals with. I think there's sort of an inherent body dysmorphia that comes over you a little bit as your body gets so stretched out. And it's wonderful and it's beautiful, but there's also part of you that's like, I will really appreciate it when my body goes back to normal. So I will see you next Tuesday, and that'll be week 12. It is the end of the first trimester almost already. How crazy is that? That's exciting stuff.